Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Iron Road coming back at you with maybe a gear review. It's actually going to be a magazine review. As you guys know, Smith & Wesson released the new Smith & Wesson Equalizer, and they also introduced new 15-round magazines that not only work in the Equalizer but also work in the Shield Plus. And we're going to be testing them out to see their reliability. And also, I got these new grip extension from Pierce Grips it doesn't add capacity, but it goes to the 10-round magazines that replaces the old base plate and allows you to get a pinky extension on that. And we're going to see how that affects reliability, if it even does. I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't. So let's get on with it. Starting first, I'm going to use the Pierce grip extension with the 10-round magazine. And then the two 15-round magazines that I got, and I'm going to run a box of 50 in each magazine. So each magazine will have its own 50-round count so far. And I'm not going to record it all because that's just going to be a long video. But what I will do is I will report back to you if I have any reports of malfunctions or anything otherwise. And also I will include the first rounds video or the first rounds in this video. So starting up, let's get with the 10-round grip. Alright, so my first shots impression so far, no malfunctions. I'm going to reload it, and I'm going to go through that full magazine, and I'll pause the video right now. I'll come back with the new 15-round magazine, and then I'll tell you what I had with this magazine, whether if there was any issues. So far, I like the extension so far on first shots impressions. It helps with getting that full grip on there on the gun, opposed to just a flat surface for the standard capacity. And so I'll come back, I'll run more rounds through this magazine, and I'll tell you what happened so far. All right, I went through 50 rounds of some Freedom ammunition reloads and 115 grain, and the 10-rounder with the Pierce extension worked flawlessly. That's all I have to report on that. And the more eagle-eyed of you will probably notice that I shot 11 rounds instead of 10 rounds. Now, the reason being is that why I had one in the pipe is because I'm trying to not necessarily just shoot as many rounds as I can. It's more or less trying to induce a malfunction if I can. Now, that might, be a little bit slanted towards the magazine, but anyone that knows semi-automatics, if you've loaded a fully capacity, like a 15-round magazine, and put it into the pistol with one in the pipe, especially if you're breaking in a new one, there is some resistance in there and trying to get that, that magazine to go home. So here I got one of the new 15-round magazines. I'm going to call this magazine number 1. I'm going to cycle 15 rounds. Yes, I do have one in the pipe, and we're going to see if we can get a malfunction to occur. This is just more or less of a test for reliability, as I probably stated earlier. So let's quit yapping and get to it. All right, so far it worked flawlessly. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back. I'm going to pause this video. I'm going to reload it, go through that box of 50, and I'll come back to you guys with an update. Just a little side note I wanted to put in there. One thing I noticed that, given that it's a brand new magazine, I did kind of expect this, but I think Smith & Wesson did kind of oversprung these magazines intentionally. And we have to remember that these are not double stack to single stack. It is a stagger stack to single stack. For more information on what's the difference between double stack, single stack, and stagger stack, there's a man called Yankee Marshall, and he goes into detail as to why Glock, or not necessarily just Glock, but maybe some other companies, why they don't do a stagger stack magazine. So I encourage you to check that video out, and let's get back to the video. All right, guys, we're back. I just cycled a box of 50 rounds, 115 grain, Freedom Ammunition's remanufactured ammo through this magazine, and I had one failure to lock the slide lock. However, I do got big giant bear mitts, so I do have a tendency to maybe ride that slide lock, slide release. So maybe that's not more or less induced by the gun, but more or less probably induced by me, the shooter. So now, that's just a sample size of 1. Let's go ahead and get a sample size of 2, and I'll come back to you guys with an update on how this magazine performs. Alright, I'm coming back with magazine number 2, and this is magazine number 2. This one's brand new in my because I just recently bought this one, and I had that 15 rounder loaded and unloaded, the other one, magazine number 1, but man, I could tell you, this is a day where I wish I did not forget my Lula loader, because I'm at 13 right now, or 14, and I'm trying to get that last round it's just not happening. So definitely, when you're trying to break these things in, load them and unload them a good few times, because otherwise I do not think that magazine would have loaded as easily for me, the first one, for magazine number 2. Moving on with the video. Alright, so I finally got the second magazine loaded, and it took a good amount of force, with my little, wussy fingers to kind of finally push that last round in there. So I got one in the tube. I'm going to subject it the same torture that first magazine did, and I'm pretty certain I might get something out of this one in terms of a failure, and that's why I'm starting to record this one. And I'm going to try my best to kind of stay in the frame a little bit more, because I kind of notice I tend to walk off in the frame a little bit. So, all right, let's see what it can do. All right, first round, no problem. Make sure my big giant bear mitt's not on that slide lock. Alright, no problem so far, but let's hope I could even reload the thing. Alright, we're approaching the end of the video. I got the last batch of rounds of 50 in this magazine, a magazine 2 for the 15 rounders that's coming with the M&P Equalizer, and probably soon to be the M&P Shield, in my opinion. It'd be an error on Smith & Wesson to not to include the 15 rounders. However, I do have some point of criticism. So enough yapping, let's get on to the video, or the shooting, and I'll tell you my thoughts so far. Ooh. It helps if you don't drop and cause a jam right away. This is what I mean when you have a round already in the chamber and you are trying to put a fully loaded magazine in there. Some people choose not to do that, some people don't. for the purpose of the test, I want to try to put these magazines through the paces for that exact reason. And we got a lock back on the last round. And so, yeah, I think these magazines are great. However, my bit of criticism is that they're coming with the M&P Equalizer. And the Equalizer, the idea of that, from what I understand from other YouTuber reviews from like Honest Outlaw and others, is that it's supposed to be an easy to rack system for, you know, the elderly and the infirm. And the thing is, with how oversprung these things are coming from the factory, just this one right here, this new one that I got maybe a couple of days ago, this kind of gives me cause for concern that even if they had the infirm or the elderly had a Lula loader, they probably won't be able to get that last 2 rounds in there, because I would get to the 13th, 14th round, and that round is just a jerk to get in there. But that's with all magazines. Like with my M&P 2.0, when I first got it, that 17th round was just a complete jerk, but then after it got broke in, it became a lot easier to actually put that last round into the magazine. And I can tell you this, these, with that size of that grip compared to the 13 rounders, I actually have one around here today. The 13 rounder, I kind of like this a lot more in terms of surface area to grip, because, you know, you go from having such a, for example, you go from having this type of grip to that type of grip. And for someone that's got big old bear mitts like I do, that is the moneymaker right there. Now, for the current Shield Plus owners, do I think you should jettison your 14, or not your 14, but your 13 rounders and get 15 rounders? Not necessarily, because only time will tell if these magazines are reliable enough to even have on you. For a person like me, I'm going to keep on putting these things through their paces and make them prove themselves to me before I even introduce them into the rotation. For me, this little grip extension is more than enough. And at the same time, if you already got the M&P Shield and you already, the Shield Plus, and you already got the 13 rounders, and you're carrying with one in the pipe, you know, for a total of 15 rounds, I kind of don't really see a reason why to, you know, cry over one additional round. But then again, also, you know, to each their own on their personal preference. And I can tell you this, that once these things prove themselves, I would like to have these more than the 13 rounders, because it just, you know, it allows for more surface area to grip onto the gun, because I got big old bear mitts. And people often say, well, why don't you get like a Glock 19 or, you know, carry a Smuth Wesson compact, you know, if you want something that's a little bit more girthier. It's just more comfortable to carry. I know maybe, you know, the words of Clint Smith, comfortable, you know, the point of the gun is to be there to save your life, not be comfortable. But then again, also a bit of criticism to that, or to, en contraire, maybe a point of preference, not a point of preference, but a point against that, is that if a gun's uncomfortable, they're not going to carry it. You know, a person's not going to carry an uncomfortable gun, and this is what works for me. This has been Iron Road. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please tell me what you guys think about these new magazines in the comments and their dual compatibility with the Smuth Wesson Equalizer and the M&P Shield. And do you think that future M&P Shields are going to start coming stock with these and the 10 rounders?